Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and today we'll be focusing on the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, more specifically on Saturday and on Friday, as on Saturday we did see the first official visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to South Sudan, and meetings were held between President al-Sisi and the South Sudanese counterpart Salva Kiir, and the number of discussions and the number of files were tackled during those discussions between President al-Sisi and the South Sudanese counterpart in Juba. And on Friday, we'll be focusing on the developmental agenda of Egypt and the efforts of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi as he inspected a number of roads towards Nasr City, the Gisr Suez area and the airport area on Friday, continuing the developmental agenda for Egypt in terms of building new roads and building new cities. And tonight I'm honored to be having with me in the studio to be shedding more light on the efforts of Egypt and the efforts of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inside the country and outside the country is engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. We will be starting with a report about the visit, the first official visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Juba. We will be having more information in the upcoming report.
President Fattah al-Sisi and his South Sudanese counterpart Salva Kiir discussed in Juba on Saturday developments of negotiations on the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. The two leaders shared the same viewpoint of the necessity for Egypt, Ethiopia and Sudan to conclude a legal binding agreement on the operation and filling of the dam. They also concurred on the importance of strengthening cooperation among Nile Basin countries in a way that achieves their mutual interests and does not harm any state. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi pointed out that President Sisi's visit to South Sudan is aimed at discussing joint cooperation between both countries and ways of strengthening bilateral relations, particularly on economic and developmental levels. Both leaders also conferred over key political developments in the region and Africa. The Ethiopian announcement of generating power comes amid rejection by other Nile downstream countries. 4 days ago, Sudanese Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok stated that the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam directly affects his country, asserting that it must not be operated until an agreement is reached. The three countries have conducted several meetings under the brokerage of the African Union over the last few months, but they reached a stalemate every round they held on the technical and legal points of contention.
Welcome back. So the importance of the visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Saturday to Juba and the meeting between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his South Sudanese counterpart Salva Kiir. Of course, engineer Hassan Shabaan is with us here tonight as a former member of the popular delegation who visited South Sudan and who visited Sudan some time ago, and will be giving us an insight of the people there, the leadership there, and the importance of the visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in this specific timing as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely the timing is perfect because, you know, there is some turmoil in this particular area in the African Horn. South of Sudan is very important to us. It's important to us as much as the north of Sudan, of course, because both of these countries were one country, one body at one time.
Yes.
And we are, one way or another, historically, we are connected to this area, actually. The South of Sudan is a member of the Nile Basin countries, and it's very important for us to consult with the South of Sudan on what's going on in the negotiations between us and Ethiopia in regard of the Renaissance Dam. Also, there is a lot of files that we share. There is fighting terrorism. The South of Sudan actually played a very important role recently in diffusing the disputes between Sudan and the groups that were anti-government. So that was a very positive sign that the South of Sudan could actually play a role in this respect. We have a lot of military groups that actually attends in Egyptian military academies, in addition to a lot of scholarships that we give to students from South of Sudan. Also, we have a presence in the South of Sudan in the medical care field. Actually, we are there. South of Sudan started from scratch, and we were there with them from day one, holding hands and trying to, give them aid to get themselves together. And I think they managed very well, and we have a very stable state right now in South of Sudan. We met President Salva Kiir, and it's very important for us to have excellent relations with the South of Sudan.
Yes, you've mentioned that we are historically connected to Sudan and to South Sudan as well.
Right.
Yesterday, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stated more than once that the peace, the security and the stability of South Sudan is in the main interest of Egypt as well.
Definitely.
How do you think Egypt helped in that endeavor to be keeping South Sudan peaceful and stable?
You see, we're there actually. We had, we exerted a lot of efforts to maintain peace and achieve, peace in the South of Sudan. At one time, there was a lot of disputes in the South of Sudan. I think we managed to help getting, all parties together. And we have a very stable country right now looking towards development and prosperity.
Can the security and stability of South Sudan be affecting directly the security and stability of Egypt?
Definitely. All the Nile Basin countries, stability and security affects us. Including what's happening in Ethiopia right now. We are watching this very closely because, regardless of the negotiations and the negative results we're getting, but still we're very interested because one day all these disputes will be over, and we still, share the same river, and we are an extension to these countries. We are the window to these countries on the Mediterranean. You have to look at it this way.
Yeah, speaking of the disputes in South Sudan, there was a recently signed deal between the rival factions in South Sudan. Do you think that this will be lasting for a lot more time in the future?
I think international efforts right now and the call for cease of fire in Africa, since President Sisi was the chairman of the African organization, there was a call to cease guns, no more violence in Africa, especially in the east of Africa, where it's very important for us to maintain peace in this area. I think this time a lot of parties will safeguard the agreement in the south of Sudan and let's keep our fingers crossed. I think it will last.
One of the important topics that were tackled during the discussions between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his counterpart Salva Kiir in South Sudan is the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Do you think that South Sudan share the same views about this project with Egypt?
Let me put it this way. This particular area in Africa, and in spite of the fact that South of Sudan share the same river with us, except that they depend mostly on rain, and the River Nile is not the first priority to them like us. Yes. But nevertheless, this is the bond that we actually tied together, that ties us together. South of Sudan realizes very well the importance of River Nile to us. I think, I was hoping actually that somebody will revive the Nile Basin Initiative one more time, because I think the Nile Basin Initiative that was, achieved about maybe 5-6 years ago is the suitable solution for all these disputes in regard of water distribution.
On the other hand, could South Sudan be playing a mediating role between Egypt and Ethiopia regarding the building and the operating and the filling of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam in the future, like they did in Sudan itself?
Very possible, because the Renaissance Dam is very close to the south of Sudan. It's right on the borders of the south of Sudan. And I was hoping that, one day we will see the electrical grid that will be alongside the Renaissance Dam connected to our Egyptian electrical grid, and we export electricity to Europe. It's a win-win situation. We have to look at it this way. Unless we give up, somebody will have to give way, and I think it will be a win-win situation if ever, we manage to cross these little obstacles that we're facing of, the duration of filling the Renaissance Dam. I think one way or another we're going to have to manage to live together.
On another front, we did see Egypt and South Sudan agreeing to be establishing a joint hire committee for both countries. Why do you see the importance of such a hire committee to be convening before the end of this year, as announced?
Well, I think this will give more momentum to the activities in the particular area, political activities and economic activities. Actually, I think we need to enhance the economical ties between us and the rest of the Nile Basin countries. Actually, this is the natural area for us to work and activate COMESA and give it more stroke actually.
Yes, how do you see the level of coordination and cooperation between Egypt and South Sudan, specifically in the past few months during the times of floods, for example, and facing up against the coronavirus pandemic all over the world?
Well, Egypt always was there from, the medical, mission that is present all the time in the south of Sudan. I think due to the fact that south of Sudan contains two major spots that we could actually benefit from them. Actually, they store a lot of water. It's like a huge swamp. The Ghazal Sea, the Bahr al-Ghazal, and Bahr al-Zaraf, which is two huge swamps actually. And the Gongli channel, if ever, we've been working on this project for some time. If we could manage to, complete this project, it will be beneficial for Egypt. We will get an additional 15 billion cubic meters of water from this particular project. There is a little obstacle, and I hope that we cross that obstacle. Once the Gongli channel is made, it will collect a lot of water that actually forms these swamps. And this might change or affect the ecology or the wildlife in this particular area. The annual seasonal crossing of certain animals from east to west and vice versa. This actually concerns very much the South of Sudan government. They're very keen in preserving the ecology conditions in the area. But I think we will be able to now solve all these problems. Science will stop at nothing, really.
In terms of coordination, more specifically in the field of economy and investments, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli recently said that a lot of investments are being set up in South Sudan. What are the fields that Egypt is aiming to be investing in the South Sudan country?
I think South of Sudan lacks a lot of housing projects. I think housing is very important in the South of Sudan, and infrastructure, because South of Sudan was neglected for so long, and the infrastructure requires a lot of efforts in this particular area. Power plants, utilization of the gas associated with the oil, because it's an oil producing country actually. And I think we could help them in this particular field and utilize the associated gas that is produced with the oil in in their development plans.
Mm-hmm. Does Egypt already have investments up and running in South Sudan? And how do you see the current bilateral trade volume between both countries?
Well, I don't think it is not really satisfactory yet. But I think a lot of Egyptian businessmen, have economical ties with the South of Sudan, and it's developing. The COMESA is helping very much in this particular field, actually. Hopefully, both sides will be able to reach certain agreements, bilateral agreements in trade, and we will be able to export a lot of our products to South Sudan.
Yes, that was the first official visit by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to South Sudan in Juba. How do you see, under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, the cooperation between Egypt in general with Africa?
Well, definitely, President Sisi, after being the chairman of the African organization,
yes,
actually he accumulated a lot of experiences and have a lot of ties with a lot of countries in Africa, and I think we will see a different presence in Egypt, in Africa. Egypt has been absent for some time.
Yes.
And I think President Sisi realizes that, and we will actually enhance our presence, and especially in the east side of Africa, the eastern side of Africa.
You've also mentioned the initiative of silencing the guns during the presidency or the chairmanship of Egypt for
yes.
the African Union. How do you see such initiative in terms of restoring peace, security and stability, not just to South Sudan, but for the whole of Africa?
You know that Egypt have a lot of troops in the peace-preserving troops in a lot of areas in Africa, and the aim is to achieve the success of the silence of guns, as I said.
Yes.
A lot of hotspots in Africa now, we are there with troops, under the flag of the African organization, actually. And I think we accumulated a lot of experience in this particular field, and this is, a good start for Egypt to be in Africa one more time.
On the other hand, at the same time, during the chairmanship of Egypt for the African Union, in the field of health for the Egyptians and for the Africans, there was an initiative to be healing or curing the hepatitis C, not just in Egypt, but in Africa and for the Africans in general. How do you see the importance of propagating the initiatives that we have here in Egypt for the rest of Africa as well?
That was an excellent move, actually, because, what happened in Egypt was watched by everybody in Africa, and suddenly we made the decision to treat the rest of the African countries that requires help in the same manner that, we applied in Egypt, and that actually gave us really, an excellent reputation and image in Africa, actually.
Yes, and even on the youth level, the forums that we have here in Egypt, in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Ismailia, in Alexandria, we had a forum specifically for the African youth in Aswan, and in Sharm el-Sheikh, before that.
Yes.
How do you see the importance of gathering the African youth from different levels at the same time here in Egypt?
You see, all these young Africans who attended these seminars, actually, when they go back, they're actually ambassadors for Egypt in their own country. They've seen things, and they've listened to what the president said in these two congresses. And I think this is, we actually, the president actually encourages young people in Egypt, the youth. And he applied the same thing in Africa. He's using youth to promote cooperation between African countries, actually.
Yes, and we will be heading to the second phase, or the second part of the daily debate for tonight, and it concerns the presidential activity of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. But on Friday, inside Egypt, the development agenda of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi contains a lot of new roads, and we will be having more information about the inspection tour that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had undertaken on Friday morning in the upcoming report. So let's see it.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi on Friday has inspected construction work at Cairo's Salah Salim access, Gisr Suez and access linking between these areas and Cairo's Suez Road and New Cairo. Presidential spokesman Bassam Radi said the president has checked construction work at these sites with engineering supervisors. President Sisi urged applying the largest possible expansion of traffic lanes in roads so that they can accommodate the future increase in the movements of vehicles in these roads. Last week, the president inspected under construction projects of the City of Arts and Culture and the new Opera House in the new administrative capital. The City of Arts would be the largest artistic and cultural city in the Middle East. The city is being constructed on an area of 127 acres. It includes a number of theaters, exhibition halls, libraries, museums, and art galleries.
Welcome back. You're still watching the daily debate as we inspected the visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Juba on Saturday. On Friday, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had an inspection tour in Cairo regarding the construction works of new roads and the new networks of roads connecting the new cities with the old cities as well. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, how do you see the new roads adding to the national road networks that we have here in Egypt?
We're catching up. I mean, all these roads actually is, pushing Egypt to a higher rank in highway engineering and services. We actually were very late in this respect. The plans that we have right now, very ambitious plans. You are just covering Egypt with highways and roads that actually will make the plan of redistributing the Egyptian population over the whole area. Actually, we're still concentrated in this 5% of our total area in the delta and the valley. But with the new roads, actually, you're going to be able to transfer a lot of the population to the new areas, actually. Transportation is very important. And I think reaching these new areas will make it accessible. Also, tying different cities with one another, with new markets, the new capital, the whole thing is Egypt is changing. You wouldn't find a spot without really a new project in it. It's amazing what's happening. We're catching up. I think it will be a very good chance, as I said, to apply the redistribution of the Egyptian population strategically over the whole of Egypt, actually. Also, I think this will encourage investments. The transportation from the industrial areas and agricultural areas through the new roads will encourage investors to come and invest in these new areas, actually. Also, I would like to add that, the old roads, say the Ismailia Cairo road,
Yes.
that road was upgraded, of course, and it became an excellent road right now. In addition to this road, there is a parallel road right next to that passes that behind the 10th of Ramadan city, which is an industrial city, but again, you are encouraging people to go and live in these areas because it was not accessible before. The Genefa road, the highway to Genefa, all the way on the Bitter Lakes, north of Suez, these all are new areas. All of this you have to put in mind also strategically, defending our country against anything will be easier with these roads, actually. The Daba road, the highway of Rabaa, the Daba, and the roads in Sinai. The whole thing it's swarming with activities, actually, in the highway construction.
Yes, and speaking about Sinai in specific, how do you see the importance of easily linking Sinai with the rest of Egypt, and more specifically the Delta now with the tunnels that we have seen under the tenure of President Al-Sisi?
Well, you see, a lot of people do not really remember that Sinai was part of the motherland before digging the Suez Canal. Now, actually, with these tunnels under the Suez Canal, we're connecting again Sinai in a different way with the motherland, and it will make it easy for transportation and the development of Sinai. Very ambitious plans to develop Sinai. The Bardawil Lake, the heart of Sinai, Bir El Abd, all of these areas are witnessing a boom right now, really. And, I think there is a lot of investments in these things, actually. And I think it will pay back very soon after, the pandemic is over. we will see a lot of investors in the area.
You've mentioned the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic. How important for Egypt to be working at the same time as we did see in the rest of the world? There was a lockdown all over the globe, but in Egypt we continued to work during the lockdown and during the battle against the coronavirus pandemic at the beginning of 2020 and right now, as we can see.
I would like to see, I'm not against really, continuous working. The continuation of working is to our advantage because we cannot slow down on these strategic projects actually. But we're going to have to really watch, medically the requirements to prevent any unforeseen, reactions for this pandemic. Yes. But so far we're doing good. Let's keep our fingers crossed and be able to finish our projects without really big damages.
Yes, on Friday, President Al-Sisi also said that this is not a luxury to be building new roads and constructing new cities, but rather an investment. How do you see the importance of building new cities, building a new capital, building the roads linking, we can say, the new Egypt with the old parts of Egypt now?
Actually, when you connect the old Egypt or the old cities to the new cities, actually you're relieving the old cities from congestion. You see, the crowded cities, the old city is, it's suffering from a traffic clot, actually. It's very difficult to drive in the old city. And I think connecting the old city with the new cities will encourage a lot of people to actually seep through these highways and go to the new cities and explore them. And I think there will be definitely a complete project, industrial areas next to these areas, the medical city on the Ismailia Road is very impressive. Yes. I think we're moving ahead, and I think within the next 10 years we will see really a miracle on our soil, actually.
There's also a change of culture, a change of mindset that the cabinet and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is trying to do, to be changing the mindset of the Egyptians to be going to places like Alamein, for example, the new Alamein city, Ismailia, the new Ismailia city, places we are used to be going just for the summertime. Now we could be going over there and living and working and living for the whole of the year at the same time, not just for the summertime or as a resort.
Very true. The investment that was invested in the North Sea, for instance, was huge. But unfortunately, it was not fully utilized because it was shut down for 9 months, out of the 12 months. But with what's happening right now in Alamein, with the new university and the new cabinet, everything, you are just, creating a new life in this area. It's not really a summer resort or anything. It is becoming a place where, swarming with life all around the year. So I think that was a very successful move. Hopefully, the area behind Alamein all the way to the Natrun Valley and all of this area, hopefully, will be a source of agricultural products for the new city. So you will have a self-sufficient city, the agricultural products next by, industrial area next to it, that depends on the agricultural products as a raw material. This is a new philosophy. You're creating a lot of areas are completely independent and self-sufficient, and you could live permanently in these areas without really going back to the old areas, relieving the old areas from as I said, from the congestion.
How can those new roads and bridges and tunnels and cities be good for the economy, and more specifically for someone who is living outside of Egypt and thinking of pumping new investments into the country? How can this be useful to him?
You see, time. You're saving time, actually. Time is money. You know, these highways and the bridges and all the tunnels, you're saving time. You're saving fuel. Once you have, you know, these projects made, this will definitely encourage investors to come. Hopefully, we will have the right laws for investment that will make it easy as well for the investors to come and invest, similar to what happened in the infrastructure. You know, the whole thing is an orchestra that plays together. You have excellent, you know, infrastructure, and you have laws that encourages investors to come and invest in Egypt, and you know, find life easy in Egypt without the red tape that used to affect and hurt our investors.
Speaking of the development of Egypt at the same time of the battle against the coronavirus pandemic, which is taking place all over the world, the economic reform program that was undertaken by the cabinet of Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. How important to be at this timing applying this economic reform program?
You see, we cannot afford, really. We don't have the luxury to waste time. This is the issue. This pandemic took place right in the middle of our battle to develop our country. So any delay in our programs will have an effect on, you know, on paying back the loans we have, the interest that you know that we have to pay to the donors or the people who actually supplied us with the capital to invest in this. So definitely these measures were excellent, and I think we're coping with the situation, and we're reacting properly to the to the situation that caused by the pandemic.
On the other hand, the building of new roads, the building of new networks and bridges and tunnels and even new cities is relieving the other older parts of Egypt
Definitely.
from stress and from the traffic congestion, but they are not forgotten at the same time. There is renovation all the time in Old Cairo, in Tahrir Square, in
everywhere,
yes. The old parts of Egypt.
Ain al-Sira, for instance.
Yes.
You know, the lake. This is amazing. The you know, the area of you know, the
How
Magra
hard is it to
Al-Ayun.
be doing both sides of the agenda at the same time?
You know, it's amazing. What's happening is like you know, a miracle, because everybody is wondering if we could have done this, why we didn't do it in the past. I mean, we have the expertise, and we have the knowledge. We have, you know, we have everything. Why it did not take place in the past? Why everything is happening right now, all at the same time, dealing with the old city, and you know, creating a miracle in the desert. Actually, the new you know, capital, the new city, Ismailia city, Mansoura. You know, the whole thing, developing the lakes, developing Sinai. This is like a miracle taking place, actually. We're not leaving anything without really improving and touching. You know, let's hope for the best.
Of course, the development agenda will be good for tourism as well.
Definitely.
As we did see, whoever passes through Tahrir Square today, there is a whole new show for the passage of the mummies from the Tahrir Square to the Namek, or the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization in Masr al-Adima, as you mentioned, Ain al-Sira, the lake in front of it. How would you see the numbers of tourists be rising following, of course, the COVID-19 lockdowns all over the world in Egypt, when they see what we're doing in terms of infrastructure and tourism going hand in hand?
I think we require a lot of propaganda for what we're doing, really. Once we promote what's happening in the right manner, I think we might be able to, I don't want to sound very optimistic, but we could reach new records actually in tourism. The new museum will be amazing. I think the new airport next to the museum, the Sphinx Airport, the monorail that connects all, the airport to the museum. It's, everything is happening all at the same time. You cannot even count how many projects that that you're dealing with. So I think if we promote all of this in the right way, in addition to what we gained in the past, Sharm el-Sheikh, with the beauty of the beaches and activities underwater and everything, I think Egypt will be really a very leading country in tourism actually.
There are a lot of new roads that are being built now, but there are certain standards that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is always asking of the engineers and the Armed Forces Engineering Authority as well. In 2014, Egypt was among the top 10 all over the world in terms of the roads accidents in 2014. How can this, or how did it change already in 2020 through those new roads and those new standards?
Actually, you have, better roads, better quality pavement, and you have better signing, signs, all over the place. So this helps preventing accidents. In addition to this, you have bridges all over the highways that makes pedestrians be able to cross the road without really being exposed to cars. We never really had this before across the highways.
Yes.
Whenever there is a highway and there is a need for a pedestrian to cross, you will find a bridge, a flyover bridge between both banks of the highway. We're playing it by the book, and I think the president will not quit actually till he actually fulfill his dream. I think also in Nasr City, for instance, the number of bridges that were made is amazing. And I think definitely due to the traffic movement and everything, there will be a need for additional touch-up to resolve the results of crowded cars that rushes from these highways. I think we will require certain touch-up in the future, but it is not that expensive, but it will improve the look of the new projects. Actually, it will complete the image.
Yeah, speaking of improvements, in 2014, upon the arrival of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in office in Egypt, we only had 24,000 kilometers of roads. How do you see the numbers nowadays in only 6 or 7 years under his tenure?
Well, there is a lot of roads that we are not aware of actually. There is a huge road actually along the Libyan-Egyptian borders actually, from the Mediterranean all the way to the south of Owainat. And this is a very strategic road. The number, the total length of roads right now is not comparable to the old numbers actually. If I would tell you that it actually, you multiply this by 8 or 7, so actually he actually achieved a new record in developing these roads actually.
And it's not just about the roads inside Egypt, as you said, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, that there are new roads that are linking Egypt with different countries like
Definitely.
Alexandria, Cape Town, for example,
Yes.
the Silk Road, for example, another project
Yeah.
between Egypt and China. How do you see the importance of linking up with different countries, not just within the continent as well, but linking us to continents that we can't reach now?
This is the dream, actually. If the Alexandria Cape Town highway is completed, this will be a dream, actually. This will make all the African countries accessible to one another. That was the obstacle, actually, geographically. I think also we're connecting Egypt with Sudan by railway, because I think we had a problem long time ago in specifications in the type of railways that was used in Sudan, and it was different from what we use in Egypt. So right now we're resolving all this, and I think we will see a different. I was hoping that one of the highways that we could actually do is Qusayr or Safaga, or maybe even Halayb and Shalatin, from that particular point to the west, all the way to the heart of Africa, across the Grand Desert, because this will be, for logistics, this will be an excellent highway to, or a port actually, for all the countries that are trapped inside Africa and doesn't have a port on the Mediterranean nor the Red Sea. They actually can use this new port, Qusayr or Safaga, and transfer all the goods from Egypt to Chad and Niger and all the Burkina Faso, whatever. All of these countries could actually use this service road from in the south of Egypt all the way to that connects the east of Africa to the west of Africa, and across, similar to the Alexandria Cape Town highway. I think if we cross the Grand Desert with a highway, this will be very useful also in fighting terrorism and restoring peace in the Grand Desert, because a lot of radical Islamic movements are there.
During the course of the episode, you've mentioned, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, that there is not an area in Egypt that hasn't a project that is going right now as we speak. In your opinion, what are the fields that we need more projects, we need more ideas in the near future?
Well, I think utilizing the highways in agriculture, we need to choose right areas and develop agricultural communities. This will make it easy for the farmers to use these highways to reach the markets. In the past, cultivating the desert was a little bit difficult because there was no means of transportation. Highways was not there. I think creating agricultural settlements, so I don't want to use the word settlements because it have a bad reputation, but small villages alongside these highways will actually create a lot of jobs for the young people, and it will relieve the old villages and the delta from the bad use of fertile land, and prevent farmers from building on the black soil of Egypt. You're creating agricultural communities outside the valley and the delta, and this will give a chance to the young people of of Egypt to live in these new communities. Industrial areas next to it that depends on the raw materials produced by these agricultural areas. It's a integrated development, actually.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you.
And this brings us to the end of the daily debate for tonight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.